Hi, my name is Rhonda from Mbaka Design, and today I'm going to show you how to make the single crochet stitch. I'm also going to show you how I work into the back bump of the starting chain and what to do when you get to the end of the starting chain and how to recognize which one is the slip knot that you initially put on your hook. So what we're going to do, I've already worked a couple to get the row so I could hold on to it because the starting chain is my nemesis and I have trouble working the starting chain all the time, no matter how many times I've done it. And what we have here, I have the loop on my hook. When you're at the beginning of your chain row, you would skip one chain and work into the next chain stitch because you need to have one chain extra to make the height of the stitch on this end so it doesn't squish this end down like this and make your project warp from this corner, okay? So I'll talk about turning chains more later on. Today I'm just going to show you how to work a single crochet stitch. But I work under the back bump, so I just turn it forward slightly and slip it under like that. And yes, I use my fingers, and there is nothing wrong with using your fingers to help you guide those loops on that hook. Yarn over, pull up one loop, yarn over, pull through both loops that were on the hook, and you've completed one stitch, one single crochet stitch. It's a really short stitch. You can see the V at the top of the stitch here, all the way across. All right, we'll do another one. So you're going to insert your hook under the back bump. Okay, there. Yarn over and pull up one loop. Yarn over, pull through two. And I'm going to do just the last few that we have here. Depending on the type of yarn, sometimes it's really easy just to get under the back bump. Sometimes it is not. And that's why I go through and then back and pick it up, like so. All right, so now we have one final one here and this little knot. When you get to the end, if your slip knot looks bigger, just push on the knot with your fingernail to close it up so that you don't work into it. When you first start crocheting, or when I first started crocheting, I had a tendency to think that I needed to work into this little thing. You don't. Just ignore it. So we're going to slip that hook under that last back bump. I cut my nails yesterday, so I'm not used to not being able to grab onto things. So pull up a loop, pull through two, and you have your single crochets all done. Now with the back bump worked into, you also have this nice neat edge at the bottom that looks almost exactly like the top. Now to work the next row, you will need to chain one for the height of the stitch because we're doing single crochets, and turn. Now when you turn, you can turn either way. You can turn your project this way, or you can turn your project this way. The only thing you need to know, whichever way you're going to turn, do it every single time because it will change the appearance of this end slightly, which way you turn. So if you care if your project looks the same on every single row, you're going to need to remember to turn it the same way every single time. So for me, I always turn one way, not the other. Okay, so we're at the end of the row, we chain one, I always turn this way. And turn. Now you have the chain one. For single crochets, that doesn't usually count as a stitch. Unless the designer tells you it counts as a stitch, do not count that as a stitch. All that's doing is bringing this up to the height of where your single crochets are going to be for this row, so you don't warp this side of the project. So you've chained one, you turned, and when you work under a single crochet, you will always work under both loops. So you're working under the front loop and the back loop of the stitch that you had before. The only time you won't work under both is if someone has indicated right in the pattern to work under only one of the loops. If they say work under the front loop only, when you turn, you're going to pick up only the loop closest to you. So this loop right here. Remember when I was talking about the chain row and how you can work into the different loops of the stitch? The loops closest to you will always be called the front loops. Okay, these are always the front loops. The ones furthest away on the top of the stitch are always the back loops. So if they're telling you to work under the back loop only of the stitch, you would work under this loop at the back and you would leave this loop alone. If they don't tell you which one to work under both, front and back. So you work under the whole V of the stitch. You pull yarn through, yarn over, and pull through both. Insert under both loops, pick up your yarn over, pull through. Insert through, yarn over, pull through. And you would do this all the way across to the other end of the row. Now, if you make a mistake, there's nothing to worry about. That's why I love to crochet. I can't knit. If I make a mistake, I can't fix it. When I'm working the crochet stitches though, if you make a mistake, just take your hook out and unravel back past the one you made the mistake on. Insert your hook back through the loop and then check by slightly pulling on this end here to see which side of the loop is pulling. You need this side of the loop to be the one that moves. See how you can see it moving? If the one on the back is the one that's pulling, it's not going to work properly. See how that pulled from back here? You don't want it to pull that way. You need it to be pulling on the front for your stitches to work properly and for your gauge to be right. All right, so then you would just continue on across the entire row. Having a yarn ball issue right now. It's sticking on something. So you go insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two. Insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two. You'll get very comfortable with it. It's a very nice dense stitch. It's great for making washcloths. You can make some pretty scarves with it. There are some pattern stitches that you can do that are using only single crochet stitches too, which are really, really pretty too. Now when you get to the other end of the row, see how it's kind of a little funny here? You need to go under both. Okay. See, they were a little bit distorted because it was the one at the other end. So you go under both loops, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two, and you finished your entire second row. Now it's going to look a little bit different than the other side because you're having front, back, front, back, front, back for the stitches through the different rows. And we get to that end, so you have your piece. You would go to this side, you would chain one and turn. Remember to turn it the same way as you did last time. And then you can work another row of single crochet right across the top. It's going to look slightly different on this side because it's the back of the stitch. And when you're working in rows, it's always going to do that. You're going to have one that you see the back of the stitch and one time you're going to see the front of the stitch. For this row, these are still the front loops because they're the closest to you. So if you're doing a project and it's telling you that you need to work into the front loop of the stitch, remember, even if you're on the wrong side of your project, the front loop will be the closest loop to you, the back loop will be the one furthest away. Okay, that can be very confusing sometimes. We did the chain one, and then you work into the first stitch because we do not skip stitches for single crochet with the chain stitches. That's only for the taller stitches that we do that, or if the designer has said in the instructions to make sure you skip that first stitch. Okay. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two. Just continue working away at that. and you will get a nice fabric. That was the tutorial for the single crochet stitch. I hope that it helped a bit. And next time I'll show you how to do the half double crochet stitch. See you later.